Hi, this is Make No Little Plans with Ivonne, and today my guest is
Yuriria Rodríguez.
Yuri. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for joining us. Yuri is an artist, an educator, and a choir director at Christ Church Cathedral. She was also my choir director in college, so she had to come today. Today we'll discuss her start in the industry, career journey, industry knowledge, and have fun learning about her talents, so take note if you're just starting out. Yuri, can you please briefly share where we are today, the city, and what it means to you?
We are in the city of Indianapolis, and this location is a historical place. It's Christ Church Cathedral. It's a very important place in my life because as soon as I graduated from college, I started working here. And they offered me my first job coming out of school, and I'm still here. And it is a place where I have grown so much.
Can you share if you've always liked music, singing? How did it start?
I always think of myself as coming out of my mom's womb, singing and dancing and just wanting to be seen in the world. My parents love music, so I grew up learning about many different kinds of music, being exposed to music.
And which
loving
country?
it. In Costa Rica. That's where I was born. And also, my mom's Mexican, my dad's Costa Rican, so I always had access to both musics.
Just take us briefly through the timeline of coming to the United States, what you studied, and maybe a little bit of the activities that you did through your bachelor's and master's.
So actually, before coming to Indiana, I was in school in New Orleans at Loyola University, which is a small Jesuit college, private, and that's where I learned English. I was already 19 years old, and I started studying music there, but life went around and took me back to Costa Rica, and I couldn't finish in New Orleans. In Costa Rica, I continued my music studies, but I always longed to be in the United States and have access to so many resources and ensembles and performances. So I applied for school in 10 different schools, being in Costa Rica, and Indiana University was the one that accepted me. Jacob School of Music. Yeah. So I didn't think it twice. I just transferred everything that I had done in Costa Rica and in New Orleans to my bachelor's degree here in Indiana. After I graduated from bachelor's degree, I took a year off, and my older daughter was born. And then I did my master's degree. Also in Indiana University, Jacob School of Music.
And majors?
My major was opera, and a minor in Latin American music. So opera is a genre that was created during the Baroque times, 17th century, and is the genre that combined drama with music, with song, and also with visual effects. And it was born to tell stories. At the beginning, it was about stories from the Greeks and the classics. Then people realized we could talk about other people and started creating stories about kings and queens. And then people realized we don't only need to talk about kings and queens, we can talk about common people. And they started sharing the stories of commoners like you and me. And it started with small ensembles and small singers, especially because there was not a lot of money involved in it. But once it came out of the church, and once it came out of the kings and courts, people started investing in it privately and publicly. And so with more money, you get more musicians and more drama and more effects.
So why did you pick opera?
Or I saw opera for the first time in New Orleans. A friend of mine, Jesus Corona, said, why don't you start in school music? Why don't you audition for it? And I said, I don't even know how to sing opera, what opera is, nothing. And so he talked to me about bel canto, which is the vocal technique that you would use to sing opera. And I kind of liked it. It was interesting. It fit my voice at that moment, and he was a very inspiring teacher. Then I was accepted to school there for music, and I started singing with the opera workshops, and that was just a lot of fun.
So what's your range of voice, and what's your voice type?
So I'm a soprano. I am a lyric-spinto soprano, and what that means, what that means is that I have a big high voice. I don't do all the coloratura stuff that we call, the jumps and high fast notes, but I have beautiful long lines with big voice.
Recently, I attended a Chicago Ideas Week, and I heard fashion designer Zach Posen mention that he designed a dress for Sofia Vergara, the actress, that actually looked very similar to a dress he had designed that as a child. So do you have anything that actually manifested itself later in life?
I always had a dream of, especially as a teenager, I wanted to perform with a Latin jazz band or big band. And that happened. It happened in school. At the end of my master's degree, I was able to perform with the Latin Jazz Ensemble, which is a 16-piece ensemble. It's quite large. And we were singing Celia Cruz salsa music, and I was just check.
Going from realizing something awesome to your obstacles, can you share a bit about, maybe pick one of the greatest obstacles in your career and how you've dealt with it? Do you have any specific story? Maybe something you had to learn the hard way? Something that comes to mind about roadblocks?
Yes. There are many things. I think obstacles mostly come from within. I had to become disciplined to practice, and I just wish I had learned that early enough in my life and in my career, so that I would have made the best out of many opportunities. And I didn't, because I just wasn't disciplined enough. I didn't work hard enough at the beginning. Later in life, I realized that if I did it, I would have great results. And now I consider myself a person who's disciplined, who practices, who gets there on time, who no matter what, does the homework.
So we know that the music industry is challenging. It's challenging to profit from your music, and many artists have now basically become brands where they tour, they have products or merchandise, books, TV shows, etc. Or at least even smaller musicians, local musicians, they have various skill sets like photography, graphic design, etc. So how have you had to diversify your revenue streams to stay active in the industry? What have you done? Maybe it's something that someone can take note from.
Well, I've been thinking about that because you can talk to me about that question, and I thought it was very interesting that many artists right now, like myself, our revenue is not in the music industry, but in the diversified part of the music industry. So we study to be performers. We love performing. That's our vocation. But really what sustains us is the diversity of the industry, teaching, doing creative projects with different media or different arts.
You've also applied to projects with grants and stuff like that, right?
Yes, exactly. Or from the church music, or also writing music, composing, arranging. That's how I sustain myself financially. And really performing is just something I love so much doing, and I make sure I keep doing enough so I don't go crazy.
For new graduates, anyone who's just starting out, maybe do you have any tips about what to invest in, what to maybe rent, what to maybe pay someone to do and outsource? So in terms of like instruments, equipment, software, are there certain things that you think are key?
I think a musician nowadays needs to invest in knowing how to do everything him or herself. Everything to get started. Everything. Learn how to do a website. Learn how to do your budget. Learn how to charge money for your gigs. Learn how much it costs. Really, what is the cost of going and singing and preparing? learn how much do you pay your musicians, learn how to do bookings, learn how to run a little, teaching program. If you're teaching, make sure you know how to do schedules correctly with your students, how to keep in touch. You need to know about marketing your music or yourself.
Social media too.
Yes, social media. Learn how to write music in Sibelius or Finale. Learn how to arrange, the basics of arranging. We need to do that now, because that's what people in the professional world expects musicians to do now. It wasn't before, but now when somebody wants a musician to go teach at a college, they have to be musician, artist, performers, and probably do 2 or 3 instruments.
So do you think that the programs right now are preparing students adequately for the business portion?
Yes and no. Yes, because a school that is very demanding, such as Jacobs School of Music, which is what I know, even though they don't specifically prepare you to that, they demand you to know how to do these things, to be on top of your game, and it makes you demand yourself that kind of skills.
Diversified.
Yes, exactly. And
little businesses yourself.
Yes.
I think that many musicians are just creative entrepreneurs. A little startup yourself.
Yes, and it is just by themselves. And no, because there's not enough of that. There's not enough libraries and information and programs and support and resources.
This is a CD you had given me. So this is Paisaje Urbano, IU Latin American Popular Music Ensemble. So obviously you've worked with many musicians and you spoke about it. What do you look for when you hire someone specifically?
My profile of musician is, first of all, somebody that is kind, that is respectful, that is somebody who is very skilled and very committed to his or her craft. Those are my main 4 things. Because I don't like working with people who could be extremely talented but don't know how to treat people nicely.
How do you find music in order to perform it?
My main platform is YouTube.
Okay.
I have to accept that. But definitely the libraries and the schools are probably the second most important platform. One's just going through stuff just to see whatever came up, and I found a salsa opera that I didn't even know existed.
I never heard of that.
And
I've been to a mariachi opera,
and I saw Celia Cruz singing, and I'm like, what is that? Right?
Wow.
It's one of the best things you can do. Just go and get lost in the library.
All right, now we're going to continue with a couple questions to understand Yuri's taste in music a little bit better. So, I want to ask you about meaningful songs in your life. When I was in a choir with you, you introduced me to a song that was very healing for me called Paz en la Tormenta, Peace in the Storm. So can you share maybe an example of a song that was just something very meaningful in your life? It doesn't have to be religious, any type.
Well, there is one song, the first song that comes to my mind, the one that really grabbed me and told me, you are meant to sing music in church. And that was Nadie Te Ama Como Yo by Martín Valverde. Nadie Te Ama Como Yo has become the quintessential song for all Latinos in the United States. The song never once mentions the word God or Christ or Lord or nothing.
It's true.
Never once. Yet, that song is able to transport you to the realms of spirituality like no other song.
So regarding live performances, what is the best you've ever enjoyed? Concert, musical theater, anything music related. What's the best live thing you've ever witnessed?
Let me think real quick.
Too many?
Yes. When we had guest musicians comes to Indiana University, that time when they invited Pablo Ziegler, who was Astor Piazzolla's pianist from the jazz quintet, and just being able to be so close to him, and he's sharing how he writes music, and then see him in the concerts and playing that energy, that swing. I've had the opportunity to see Jojo Ma in concert. That was amazing. Of course. But I've also seen some other performances by my peers, in school, that were just incredibly talented.
Who is the most talented person you've ever worked with?
I worked with Gonzalo Grau once. I think he is one of the most talented musicians right now in the world. And he was the person that helped do some of the arranger for Pablo La Pasión. Extremely talented composer and also a performer, and he has a salsa band of himself also. There's another musician I admire so much, and he was in school while I was in school, Diet Jacobs for Music, and his name is Wedeking. Ben was a violin player and guitar player. Extremely high quality musician, extremely nice person, very intelligent musician. And so we brought him here to the cathedral to work with the Latino choir.
Who would you trade places with for a day? Which artist, performer, anybody in the industry, dead or alive, if you could be them for a day?
Celia Cruz.
Azúcar.
Yes.
Can you tell us who this is?
This is my second partner in crime.
My name is Belen.
Belen.
And my sister name is Mercedes.
And why was she named Mercedes?
She's Mercedes after Mercedes Sosa, my greatest, most important influence in music.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about your top 5 influences. Which Cuban singer just created a Broadway musical in the last couple years about her life? And do you know what it's called?
Was it Gloria Estefan?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's called?
No, I don't know what it is called.
It's called On Your Feet.
That's right.
Guess who went to go see it?
Oh, how was it?
Awesome. All right, next question. Do you know about what age Jose Alfredo Jimenez died?
I do not know at what age Jose Alfredo Jimenez died.
He was 47.
Yes. Really?
Yes.
Wow. I love Jose Alfredo Jimenez music.
Can you give us a couple examples of songs he composed?
Yes.
Just the titles.
He did I don't know the titles. I have to sing it. Me cansé de rogarle, me cansé de decirle. Ella. But he also did Un día nublado, and he also did No quiero ni volver a oír tu nombre. Yes.
And then Me equivoqué contigo, a few.
And yes.
Last question. Who sings this song? Si no creyera en lo que agenció.
Well, that is sung by Yuriria Rodríguez first, and then by Mercedes Sosa. Yes.
Can you finish the rest of the lyric?
Si no creyera en lo que agencio, si no creyera en mi camino, si no creyera en mi sonido, si no creyera en mi silencio.
And what's it called?
La Masa.
La Masa. One of my favorite songs. We've gotten to the portion where I turn it over to you and I ask you to share with our audience something that is coming up.
Our Latin American choir is getting ready to do a couple of tours in Chicago next year, and also we are going to be the official choir for the biannual Latin American Ministry Conference of the Episcopal Church. We're trying to recruit heavily families in Indianapolis who want to sing. You want to sing with your children, with your teenagers, with your husband, your wife, your partner. Come to Christ Church. If you want to learn Spanish, or you know a little bit of Spanish, or you're a Spanish native speaker, Coro Latinoamericano has a space for you to come and learn how to sing, do it nicely, correctly, and share that power of making music with others. And then in the popular music environment, I am so excited to announce that the Latin Jazz Ensemble at Jacob School of Music has invited me to do their homage to Celia Cruz next spring, 2018. The conductor is Spiro, who's a wonderful, wonderful musician and amazing teacher.
Who did he perform with?
He performed with Celia herself.
All right, we're getting to the end here, and I just want you to complete the sentence, please. The purpose of music in this world is?
To empower people.
Thank you, Yuri. Thanks for sharing your musical journey with us.
Thank you.
And Viewers, thanks for tuning in. This was Make No Little Plans with Yvonne, and till the next episode.